look. It acts as a framework or a lure. Lure is probably not a good example. It tells me.
Can you repeat what you just said? The impact. So you're listing the impact of those problems, and the objective of the document is to.
It's to help you. It's to give you a place to look. It's to be the framework to tell you where to go. So,
like a reference.
I'm sorry.
Like a reference.
Yes, like a reference. So, I don't have it in front of me, but I think you have it. You know the one that I gave you when it was filled out, right, with the placeholders. It had 3 placeholders. So one of the problems is low close rates. So as a salesperson, when I'm doing my discovery or I'm getting in really early, I might say, hey, Stephanie, tell me a little bit about your close rates. Are they where you want them to be? And the reason I'm asking that question is I know if I can find out that you have low close rates, I have something that I could potentially sell you.
Right. So that was my question was, is this what we're doing? Is that what we're creating here? Is that document that shows up later in the book?
Yes. So we're building that. Yes. So the second.
So this is the first 2 columns of the problem identification chart. That was correct?
The second one isn't the future state. The second one is the impact.
Right. Okay.
It's the impact of the current state. So because you have low close rates, tell me a little bit, Stephanie, how that has affected you, or what's the impact of that? And that could be, marketing is pissed off because they feel we're not closing the leads. They feel we're wasting the leads. We're spending $200 per lead, and we're only closing 2% of those. And we think we could probably close more, which means we're wasting all of this money on leads that could be closed. My team isn't getting it done. We also now have to spend more money on leads to get more leads in order to make our number, because we assume they could have closed 12%, but they're only closing 2%, which means we have to spend even more money getting more leads because we need more leads to get to our number because they're off by, you see what I'm saying? That's all the impact.
Right.
Right?
And you're writing down, the impact of those, the possible impacts, the impact.
Possible impacts, right. Yes. Because there are always, I'll call it up. Hold on, I'll go get it again, just to have a working one we can go through.
Oh, I remember you sent it to me. We sent it on, problem identification. You sent it on the 21st.
All right, so if you look at that, right, and that is assuming it was a sales organization, because at the time when I did it, it was pretty easy. I said, okay, well, what's the impact of an organization of low close rates? A high cost of sales. That speaks to the amount of money you spend for what you sell. Slow revenue growth. Fewer customers. Less revenue. Less profitability. Increased pressure on the base. Wasted leads, which I just talked about. Lost opportunities. Vulnerable to the competition. So I can ask any of these types of questions once I get them to say, hey, yeah, you've had low close rate. I have low close rates, so that's where I want to be, so that you can start helping them understand the impact of those low close rates.
But we're not actually getting into how we do that at this point of the book.
No, we are not.
So we're just saying you're going to write these down, and later you're going to ask your customers to explain to you, ask them, do you actually have this potential problem that I suspect you have, and go from there?
Yes. So in the future, once I have this done, right, every time I engage with a customer in the discovery phase, these are things I want to start looking for. Like you said, it's a simple reference. Let's just say you said, no, our close rates are fine, right?
Right.
Then you might say, okay, well, tell me a little bit about your lead generation process. How are you generating leads? How many leads do you generate in a month? Are you getting enough? Right? Have you seen an increase, et cetera? And so maybe I can get them to say, actually, no, that's a good point. We are shy. Okay, I got a problem I might be able to fix.
Right. Okay, right. But I was right in that it is the equivalent of filling up your toolbox, because I sort of felt like you were sort of like packing the things you're going to need in order to start this process. Is sort of how I envisioned.
Yes. This is an excellent tool or reference guide to help organizations know where to look. Look at it almost like a scavenger hunt, for lack of a better word, right? Not one where you have to get them all, but this. You know where to look. Here's another way of looking at this. So I talk to companies every day. It blows my mind. Just today, I asked a guy. He's in the space. He's in the security for access in user identification management. In other words, retina scanning if they want someone to get into a place, or, password management if they want to get into applications. You know what I'm saying? Like, the right people get access to the right data or get into the right buildings, et cetera, et cetera. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I said to him, okay, what's the number one problem you solve? He said, data integrity. I'm like, how's that a fucking problem? Like, I don't get it. That's not a problem, right? He really didn't understand what problems he solved, or he didn't know how to articulate them. So by going through this exercise, this forces salespeople to put down the problems that their product or service solves, the impact to the organization if that problem exists, and then why that problem, what's the root cause of that problem? What do I know about that problem? I like root cause better. So that I can help articulate how to solve it for them. And when you have that trifecta across 3, 5, 7, 9, 10, or 11 major business problems, now as a salesperson, those are the only places you go to look.
Right.
Right.
Okay, so 2 questions, and one is just about not knowing how things work. Why is data integrity not a problem?
Yeah.
Why is it not a problem? I guess I don't see why that was a bad answer.
Because what's the problem? The example I used to him, I said, is a slow computer a problem? Not to my 8-year-old, it's not.
Okay.
Right? So the problem is whatever comes out of that, right? So in the 2 minutes or 5 minutes he was talking, he never ever said risk. So the problem could be the wrong people accessing the data. That could be a problem in his world, right?
Uh-huh.
A problem could be when he talked about the medical field. One of them could be a problem is the risk of the risk of people getting access to HIPAA information. The people who don't have, what's the word I'm looking for? People who don't have the right access are getting access to HIPAA information or seeing HIPAA protected information. That's a problem.
Right. Isn't that what he was saying though?
No, I said, what's your problem? He said data integrity. That's all he said.
And that's not enough.
No, not even remotely close.
So it's not that it was wrong, it's that it wasn't enough. It's that you're trying to get more specifics out of him.
But I want to know what the actual problem is.
Okay.
So, Stephanie, here's another example. You're married, and I say, what's the problem with your marriage? My husband doesn't talk enough. That's not necessarily a problem.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
My husband doesn't talk enough about his feelings. Now, that's a problem in a relationship.
Right.
See the difference?
Yeah.
Yes, we all play at this 50,000-foot level that rarely does anything for us. I can't be that guy and call and say, hey, are you having data integrity issues? What the fuck is that supposed to mean?
Okay. So specificity of language.
Yeah, I got to know an actual problem.
Okay.
In the context of the people I'm calling.
Okay. So you mentioned root cause, which we don't mention root cause at all until, I think, 2 chapters later. So does that mean we have to mention it here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. So, because that's the other piece of this little trifecta here. So this last one, what do I know about the problem, is really the root cause. Notice I say it can be caused by weak sales team, lack of training, poor sales enablement. What do you think this does for me now when I can speak to this? When I can ask questions about why it exists? What does that allow me to do?
I'm not following. When you can answer questions about, when you can answer the root cause, when you can fill in the root cause column, you mean?
Yes. And when I can get the customer, when I start digging for the root cause, when I find the root cause, what does that do for me?
And that column is only being filled once you've actually talked to the customer. No.
This is all up front.
This is still up front too. Okay.
Yeah, sorry. The whole thing is up front. This is the credibility piece, right?
Mm-hmm.
This tells me or helps me show you that I can actually solve your problem.
Because you know the root cause, because you can tell them, you can ask them now, do you have this problem? And they think you're a miracle worker, and you say, yeah, how did you know? Or you have, second sight. Yeah, how did you know? And then you come off looking like the expert.
Yes, or yes. So tell me a little bit about your close rates. You go on and tell me about how they're not where you want them to be, what they were last year, why the team seems to be not closing at the rate they used to, how deals are taking longer than you wanted, blah, blah, blah. And then you go in and say, well, how's that affecting your business? Is that one of the reasons you're not making that number? Is that affecting your lead generation program? Is that frustrating marketing? Is marketing getting frustrated because they get to give you more leads? Is that making it more difficult to be predictable? Like, these are all the impact, right? So do you know where I'm going with this impact now?
Uh-huh.
And he says, yes. So now I have him or you, whoever, anchored in this idea. This is a fucking problem, a big problem. Look at all these things it's causing me. And then I say, okay, tell me a little bit about this. Tell me about your sales team. How long have you been selling? Is everybody having a closing rate problem? So now I'm looking to find the root cause. See what I'm doing here?
Mm-hmm.
Then he says, no, actually, no, they all have, well, one or two reps. Only a couple have a closing rate problem. The other ones don't. Okay, so the ones who don't, the ones who do, are they making up the biggest share of dragging this down? Yes. Okay, I have a salesperson problem now. You see what I mean? Uh-huh. 3 or 4 questions, I got a sales problem. No, they're all struggling at the close rate, and it's getting worse. All right, tell me a little bit about the competition in the space. What's going on? Has anybody new entered the competitive fray? Hey, it's funny you asked that. Yes, we just got a new competitor. Are you losing to the competitor in a lot of these situations? Yes. Now I just help them realize it's not a sales team. It's this competition, which I can't help them fix per se. And or I can say, well, tell me, how are you positioning against that competitor? Where are you losing? See what I'm doing here? So so now I'm digging out the reasons for his problem, which is causing him that impact. And if I start doing that and I can start showing him how I can fix those things, this is a slam dunk sale.
Right, you're digging out the reasons for the problem, but you already know the reasons for the problem. Am I right? Because you did that.
Yes, I know. Yes, in most cases, I know why those problems exist. It's like a doctor.
I was actually thinking you're more like Columbo or one of those detectives where they act like they don't know the answers to anything because they're trying to get you to incriminate yourself or whatever. But in reality, they know exactly where they're taking you.
Yes. Now, I wouldn't say exactly because it could be one of 4 or 5 or 6 different things, okay, right? And that's why there's so many here. It can be a weak sales team. I'm going to ask questions around that. But if all of a sudden I realize that the entire sales team is there and they never had this problem before, then it may not be the sales team, right? It could be, but maybe not. That's why I asked about the competition. I'm going to ask questions about the product. How old is the product? When's the last time there's been an update? You know what I'm saying? So right, there are multiple things it could be, and it could be different for every customer, but I know for a fact that this type of problem in this type of industry only has so many root causes. That's the cool thing about it. I think a perfect example, if you and I would ever sit down and do this for writers and ghostwriting services, I can tell you there's probably only a handful of problems that these people have that you can solve. The impacts would be pretty wild. There'd be a lot all over the place. And but the root causes from them are, going to be pretty finite.
And that's the kind of thing you figure out with experience. I mean, if you're just starting out, you're going to be adding to that list every time, I would imagine. Like, you'll come up with your own, and then you'll do a couple of these, and you'll realize, oh, there's more that I hadn't thought of, and you'll add those to your repertoire.
If you're starting out,
If you're starting out, yeah. Okay.
Yes. But generally speaking, if you've been selling for more than a year,
yeah, then you'll have them all. Okay.
You have to know them. And your company should know them.
Once again,
and your company should help you.
Once again, all of your examples, though, don't go here. That goes in the second part of the book. This part is just, you're going to do this. You're going to list your thing, not how you're going to do it, but, or you're going to do your listing, and then the whole conversation part where you confirm which of these problems are actually a problem, that happens in part 2. So we're not going to go into it right here.
No, we're not going to go into it right. We're going to, wherever we tell them to do this, we have to explain what each column is.
Right.
Wherever we put this, we have to explain what each column is. Once we go back and refer to it, you can go back to and refer to it in 3 different sections, 1 main section, however you want to do that. So that's really, that's what we think is the best way to do it.
Okay, but this is also, I need to add in a mention of the root problem or root cause. So we're basically introducing this thing that we're coming back to later in the book. Okay.
Yes. Right. So when I said right here, when you say then instead of column, list every future state you could offer, the future state's the one thing we don't know.
Right.
Right? So I had a client. I did this whole process. I found out what their problems were. The root cause to them was one main root cause was the fact that they were an international company, and each region had its own general manager who managed each sales team by themselves. So there was no continuity. There was no predictability. So I said, here's one of your major problems. So then I said, this is one of the things you need to fix. And then I said, well, listen, where are you trying to go? Where are you trying to grow to? And he said to me, look, we need to get to 48 million in 2020. The minute he told me that, that's his future state. I can't tell him his future state.
Okay.
Right? I have to learn what that is and then bridge the gap. The client owns the future state. I own getting to the current state.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes.
Like here, Stephanie, a great example. I don't think you knew this or not. I think I shared with you before, but if I haven't, a perfect example. A major driver of me going with you in the future state was getting this done in 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I've written a book. It's done pretty well. It's actually picking up steam again. People seem to be grabbing onto it. People liked it. Thought it was funny. They liked my voice, blah, blah, blah. That wasn't, like, I knew I could write a book. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I remember how long it took me. And I remember how important the getting this book done to expand my business was. So the future state had very little to do with my ability to write a book. Could I write a good one? Would people read it? It was actually, can I do that faster in order to build the second piece of my business, which this is attached to? There's no way you could have known that. That's my future state for you to dig out.
Right. Okay. And the only way to get that out is to ask.
Now imagine if there's two of you trying to sell to me about going with you. You know my future state. You know what I want to accomplish. You know where I want to go, and the other one doesn't. Who's going to win that sale?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right, but you have to ask the right questions to get to that.
Yeah, because all you're going to do is keep talking to me about, well, Jim, how are you going to get this done in 6 months? And what happens if you don't? And Jim, you said that you're building this whole training thing behind it. How much is that training thing worth to you? Wait, you think you can get to $500,000 in the first 6 months? So if you don't get this, it's worth $100,000 a month, costing you $100,000 a month thereafter? Mm-hmm. Like, you're going to keep me keenly focused on that, right?
Right. Okay.
And the other guy could be talking about, oh, I'm really good with punctuation, and my editing is fantastic, and I'm really good with...
Which is all important, too, but I see what you mean. The priority, you're figuring out what their top priority is.
Yeah, that shit would not have been important to me until you convinced me that you were the person that could get it done quickly and well, etc. Then I might care after that.
Right. Okay.
Right?
All right. I am going to ask you not to use me as an example anymore, because I feel like sometimes we use me as an example, and I'm like, oh, I get it. And then I get to trying to write, and I have no idea how to translate my job to somebody else's job or their business.
Oh,
and also, I don't, and also remember I keep thinking B2B, we got to do B2B, and so it doesn't translate well to a B2B example. So I was asking you that favor. It helps me to clarify in my head, but it's harder as far as coming up quickly with good hypotheticals and helpful things to your readers who do not need a ghostwriter. Okay, I'm going to scroll. Here we go. I don't know if this is this. Okay, you're answering my questions. I'm on page 37. We're talking about the facts. And I wrote, your goal must be to find out everything you can about how the physical and literal status of their business.
So wait, we skipped a bunch, but you understood those, I assume? Wait, 37, I don't know. That's not for me.
There wasn't anything, I mean, you made some small comments, some small changes, but there was no...
Okay, let's do this. Let's go with the comment number rather than the page number.
Yeah, I don't know why my comment number doesn't... I don't have a comment number in my comments, and I'm not sure why. Which is not...
Which one are you on, then?
9:35 a.m. It says that your product or service affects.
Yes. Comment 6.
It's comment 6. Okay. I'm not sure what you're saying there. Your goal must be to find out everything you can about how the physical and literal status of their everything you can about the physical and literal status of their business. And you wrote that your product or service affects. Do you just mean to tack that on to the sentence?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Sorry.
Okay. So the literal status of their business, how the physical and literal status of their business.
Because what people will do, they'll be too broad. So let's just say I sell no, this is something even more. Listen, yeah, I sell freaking paper. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Don't go start talking to them about their 10K and their desire to branch into different branches unless you have an office in another place to make buying paper easier, or talk about their decision to hedge oil prices or to hedge orange juice prices. There's nothing to do with the fuck you sell. And people still do that all the time.
So
it's not their business.
You're talking about sticking close to things that this is more about sticking close to problems you can solve?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Thus, the thing we started with, list the problems. And don't spend any time wasting time talking about their business if it doesn't align with the specific set of problems that you solve, and it can be believable.
Okay. So that's all you were saying, is making sure not to just talk about any status. You want to focus your questioning. Okay.
Yes, and it's critical that salespeople are zeroing on the problems and the issues that they can affect, or they'll be all over the place and they'll lose the buyer.
And that's why you didn't want to ask about general questions. All right.
Yep.
Never ask questions that are relevant. Never ask questions that are relevant to your solution and their problem. I think you meant never ask questions that are irrelevant to your solution
probably.
and problems. Okay.
Which one? Where am I?
It's just the very next one underneath.
Yeah, irrelevant. Yes.
Okay. Tell me about your customers. Again, this is a good question if your product or solution targets, impacts, or affects its customers. Oh, okay.
So yes, if you have something that doesn't affect customers, I don't need to know about your customers.
Okay. I guess I was trying to give examples of what people can ask.
Yes, which I like all these, as long as you figure out a way to spin it. So if you say something, this is just one way, you can do it any way you want, but if you say, if your product affects customer service, then you might want to ask them, tell me about your customers. Like, I want to be real careful that salespeople don't go too general. Because if I said, tell me about your customers, they're this and that, and then I start talking about paper, how does selling me paper affect my customers? Why are we having this conversation?
Okay. So maybe it's qualifying it either at the beginning or at the end, saying, keep in mind, these questions these are examples, and they only work if they actually fit in with what with what you sell or your service.
If the answers help you uncover or get you closer to the problem that your product or service can address.
Right. Okay. Okay. All right. That's clear now.
Clear as mud.
No. It's like sometimes you're like, oh my gosh, I have to rewrite everything, and then it's like, no. It's fine. You just need to add one line, or you just need to clarify this one thing, and that's what we.
Am I a bad client?
No, not at all. This is again totally normal. This is just how it works.
When I hear you say, "Oh my God, I have to rewrite," I'm thinking, "Oh, she's like, why did I take this fucking guy on?" I start to feel bad.
Well, no, because people, you're going to write what you're thinking and not realize how I'm going to interpret it. That's just why we have. That's why you have to get on the phone and do it and talk it through, because what you write is not necessarily. You're responding to something, and I just have to I'm basically focusing you. Okay, the 4x4 chart you're going to provide this. How people justify their buying decisions. You said you had a 4x4 chart, so you have to send me that.
Yep.
These are all small. And the next comment is at 12:52. I'm sorry, I don't have a number for you, but it's in this. It's just a note to you. You saw that I found that study about the sales challenge.
Which one are we on? I lost you.
I'm on page 46. It's
39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44. I'm not clear on why still trying to sign and mimic the sales.
After the 4x4 chart, I say insert the 4x4 chart, and if you scroll to the next page, I found a study that talks about how people that aren't so concerned about building relationships are actually better at their sales job.
Oh yeah, the whole one, the Matt Dixon one. Yeah, I know. Oh, sorry. Yes, I love that. That's excellent. I love it. I know Matt Dixon personally, and he might be someone that. Yeah, that might be on the back of the book. So no, that's perfect. That's great. It's a great study and great call, and Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So if you if you keep scrolling, you'll see I have a question for you there that says, I'm not clear on why solutions-oriented selling would mimic the sales that occur in a better economy. And I suggested you might want to read the study and make sure that I have interpreted it all correctly and see if there's anything else to add. You would just...
I need to read that again. I remember thinking, no, I think she got it right.
Okay, that's fine. So just wanted to make sure. And you can see that the link is at the bottom of that page. Okay.
Yep.
That's funny that you know him.
Oh, yeah, of course. Why is that funny?
I don't know, because I was so proud of myself for finding. I was like, oh, look what I found. This is great. This will be useful. And it turns out you're like, yeah, totally. I know the guy. You've probably read it.
Yes, when he had such a big, so what I'm trying to say, it drove people went ballistic.
Oh, yeah.
Probably when he said relationships don't matter. They went ballistic. And so I read his book. I interviewed one of his cohorts for their second book, The Challenger Customer. And so, yes, I'm a big fan of their research. And so, it's great. Good call. You should be very proud of yourself.
Okay. So at the bottom of page 49, right before part 2, it's the very last line of the section. And you said you want to, I know you hate to be redundant, but I'm thinking I'd like to wrap this up with a conclusion or summary.
Yes.
And then the next page, as far as I was concerned, was a summary. Does that serve, or do you still feel like it needs more? I thought maybe you'd written that before you'd gone to the next page. I
had. But I think what I wanted was I'm going to tell you what I just told you.
Okay.
Because you know what you say is part 1 of this book to go to finding concepts with gap selling. But I just wanted something that says, that really emphasizes you got to find the problems. You got to do the right discovery. Discovery is everything. You don't get the right problems, you're not going to go there. Current state, you got to get the right current state. Like just because what I felt was we're ending this whole section, we're going into a new section, and it just felt like I fell off a cliff.
Okay.
I didn't feel like you landed me nicely. You told me all this stuff, and then here we go to the next one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just
wrap it up more. Okay.
Yeah, just bring it in and just tell me what you told me again in a short paragraph, And
I assume emphasizing that if you don't do this groundwork, don't bother moving. Don't even bother.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Right. And now we're going to teach them how to. And you can even say, so the next step we're going to teach you how to do the groundwork. Maybe even roll that way. But yes, this is like yes, and make sure they understand the whole framework. Right. You have to understand this. You have to get it, because without it, we're going to start talking about how you do it. But if you don't buy into this, or it's just not going to work.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Make sense?
Yep. All right. Okay. So we'll do that. Take a pee break. Move on. Move sale. These are all little things. And then I had said, we're in chapter 7 now. For me, it's page 53 at 1:14 a.m. I wrote, here's a good test, right? If you do hear them saying yes. And I thought, is it worth asking you, to myself, is it worth asking Keenan, what if they don't say yes? What do you do? And if they say yes.
Great. Well, let me read this again. I like where you're going with this. Okay, so if you don't hear them, most salespeople will believe they're hearing yes. But if they don't believe, if they don't feel that the customer's going to say yes, or the customer's not demonstrating the behaviors that make them feel that they're going to do that, then they need to go back. Right? They haven't developed the credibility. The customer isn't in the buying mode with them. Right? The customer has to be willing to go on the journey with you. The customer has to be able to